was speechless. And if you know me, I'm never speechless, not even when I sleep. So for someone to say something to me that leaves me speechless, you know it's a big deal. And that's exactly what my professor had done. He had made a derogatory remark toward me. And my friend, who was in his office with me, filing papers at the time he made the comment, she stopped and looked at me. And I looked at her. And I immediately knew I had to excuse myself from the office and go home and sort it out. And the next day I came back and I told him how his words impacted me. And I requested how I'd want our relationship to look in the future. Well, that led to the chair of the department finding out about the comment, the professor and I having a mediation, and the professor talking bad about me to my classmates in the hallway. And ultimately, the professor was placed on leave because other inappropriate behaviors had been brought to light. Now, I say all this because sometimes we can set a boundary with someone and they don't like it. They respond to us in ways that are negative, inappropriate, aggressive. And what do you do? What do you do when that happens? Well, today, that's what we're talking about. What do you do when you set the boundary and, well, it doesn't go as expected? So grab your favorite beverage, pull up a chair, and let's get started. Welcome, welcome. I am Dr. Tracy Dickens, a psychologist. And if you have been here before, welcome back. And if it's your first time here, I'm so glad you found my channel. And thanks for hanging out with me today. Today, we're talking about how do you handle difficult people? How do you handle people who respond negative to your boundary? The reality is sometimes when we set boundaries with people, they either won't or don't know how to make adjustments to their actions. They don't know how to respond to you making adjustments to your actions. So you experience a negative response. And that negative response can just be flat out pushback, which is defined as they ignore that you mentioned a boundary and continue to do what they want, which is the case of what my professor did. I set a boundary and he continued to talk bad about me. Sometimes people will test the limits. They'll get sneaky and manipulative about the limit. I used to get this a lot with my goddaughter. I would say, okay, time to get into the shower. And she would say, nope, I don't want to take a shower. And I would say very clearly, okay, here are the options. You get into the shower now and we can do something fun after before you go to bed, or you can continue to push me on this and you still take the shower and we don't get to do anything fun after. And so what she would do is she would just step in the shower and just stand there. Because you know, kids are always trying to find a way to test the limits. And so I would just tell her, listen, sis, you know what the request is, and those are your choices. This will go the easy way or the hard way. Makes no difference to me. I'm still gonna go to bed and be just fine. And she would take the shower. But there is this finding a way to kind of bend the rules, manipulate it, sneak around it, adjust it, just kind of walk the line. They're just pushing the limits. The next one is rationalizing and questioning your boundary. So this is gonna look like them asking you lots of questions like these. Where is this coming from? Why are you making this a big deal? I was only joking. Oh, wow, you're really being sensitive. Wow, okay, you're being controlling. When did you get so mean and selfish? I don't have an issue with how these things are. What's your problem? Why are we having this conversation? You get it, right? I mean, I think you're understanding. Maybe some of these you've said and some of these comments we've heard from other people. And then another response that's really common is a person will get defensive. They will respond to you as if you were doing a character assassination. Like you'll say, when you don't take out the trash, this is how it leaves me feeling. And the person's like, oh, so you're saying that I'm lazy and I'm a horrible husband or I'm a horrible wife? It's like, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. And then for me, probably the toughest response is the silent treatment. When you set the boundary and the person just stops talking. It's a control move. And we think, and the person who's doing the silent treatment may not realize that they're doing that, That's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to manipulate and control and maintain the relationship as it is. Okay, so now with all of these things, what do you do? How do you respond to this? Before I go into how do you respond, I always ask people to do a little self-assessment, because sometimes you may recognize that the pushback that you're experiencing, the difficulties that you're experiencing, might be related to how you communicated the boundaries in the first place. And I did a video where I talked about how do you communicate boundaries. And a lot of times we get so excited, we've done all the work, and we're like, yes, I'm gonna tell people. And we don't realize that maybe we've told them in a way that sets up the situation for a little bit of pushback. So what do I mean? Are you actually standing by the boundary that you set for yourself? For example, let's say that you've checked your capacity on your finances and you realize you can't loan money to anybody in your family, especially Uncle Tommy, who's always coming to you ask you for money because you have things you have to pay for in the next couple of months. And then lo and behold, here comes Uncle Tommy asking you for money. And even though you know you need house repairs, you need to buy something for the kids or buy something for college or whatever the thing is you need to purchase, you loan the money to Uncle Tommy and you say, man, Uncle Tommy just never listens to me when I say I don't have the money. Well, he's not listening to you because, well, you keep giving him money. So you don't stand by the boundary that you've set for yourself. Other times we may procrastinate about the boundary violation. Someone violates our boundaries and we say, well, I'm gonna circle back and say something. And then it's weeks and months later until the boundary violation shows up again. And then you say, you know, the last time you did that and this time you do this, I know there's a pattern. And now the person can't take you seriously because they're like, this was such a big deal, why are you just not saying something? And why have you been putting up with it? They just don't believe you. Not following through with the consequences that you said will happen when the person violates your boundaries. If you tell them not to call you that name again, if they do, I'm gonna respond with not talking to you or leaving the relationship, but yet you stay, well, the person doesn't take you seriously. If you don't stand by the consequences, if you don't stay true to the boundary that you've set for yourself and other people, then they're just not gonna follow through with it. And you'll think people are taking advantage of you, that they're not respecting your boundaries, but you're actually not really believing in your boundaries, you're not holding firm to your boundaries, and so it sends the message that your boundaries really are important and people will just, well, step over the line. Speaking of pushing, if you are liking this video, push the like thumbs up down below and subscribe to this channel so you can come back and get more videos. And now, back to the video. Well, the first thing you want to know is that sometimes you just might need to restate a boundary. That person doesn't live your day-to-day. They don't know what your needs and expectations are. They don't know your schedule. They don't know the things that you're facing day in and day out. They don't know your past history and how things that they're doing may be triggering those issues. They have no clue. They're busy living their life and trying to manage their own boundaries. So sometimes we just have to restate things to people just because they just simply don't remember. The point is, once you've stated it and you've stated it again, to keep restating it at that point is just pointless. But what you need for yourself to be safe stands. And so you have to make adjustments so you can keep yourself mentally healthy, psychologically healthy, financially healthy, all the healthies, okay? I hope you're following me. The Bible has something to say. Warn a divisive person once and then warn them a second time. After that, have nothing to do with them. You may be sure that such people are warped and sinful. They are self-condemned. Now, I will say this. The restating a boundary does not apply for behaviors that are harmful. If somebody's hitting you or they're talking to you in a very abusive, oppressive way, and you say stop, and the person continues, there are no second chances. The second thing to consider is, are you communicating this boundary in the context of an established relationship or a new relationship? If it is an established relationship, well, you're changing the dynamics of the relationship. You're changing the expectations, you're communicating a need that's never been expressed before, and it kind of throws people off. We're essentially sending the message that I'm working on myself, I'm changing some things, and I'm asking you if you're willing and able of doing hard work also, so this relationship can continue to grow and evolve. And sometimes people are just not ready. They're just not ready. You absolutely have the right to grow and evolve and become healthier. And the other person has the right to choose if they want to join you or not. And if the other person isn't willing to do that, well, then you can adjust how often you interact with the person. You can adjust how you interact with the person. And in some instances, it may mean you need to take a break from the relationship temporarily or permanently, given the significance of the boundary. And for some of you, saying a permanent break from a relationship might bring a flutter to your heart. But in the next video, I'm going to talk about how do you say goodbye, because sometimes the reality is you just cannot stay in the relationship. What I tell my clients on a regular basis is a relationship can only be as healthy as the unhealthiest person in the relationship. You really have to consider, am I willing to give up my journey towards healthy in order to stay with this person? Is a relationship really worth that? Because if I'm willing to set this boundary, that tells me that I am on a healing journey and I'm looking for something else for me. And that's okay. It doesn't mean the person's bad. It just means the person isn't ready. Or they have other things that they're focusing on their journey towards health. And you give them space to finish that. You allow yourself to become healthy, and then you might be able to circle back around and your relationship be healthier because you allowed each other the space to grow and evolve as you need to. And something to keep in mind, if you two are in two different places, focus on the people that are ready, that are in the same place that you are on your movement towards health. That is all I have for this video. I have one more video in this series. One more video in this series. Can you believe it? One more video. If you've missed any of the videos so far, I'm going to put a link to the playlist down below. And as always, let me know down below what information resonated with you. Push the like, thumbs up, and subscribe, and push the little bell so you can get notified whenever a new video posts. And as always, thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. And until then, choose joy.